Incoming right there.
Tactical Rifleman Nation. Good afternoon. Good evening. How you guys doing? You miss me? Come on now, tell me. Did you miss me? I miss you guys. I'm overwhelmed. It's just me. No KE, no kinetic energy tonight. So, what are we going to discuss tonight? Everybody say hello to each other. All you guys out in the chat room. I want to apologize. Our last show we did up at Redneck Riviera, and I was interacting with you guys, but I couldn't see the chat room, so I really couldn't see your questions. So we have gotten that somewhat straightened out. I have access to Miss Susan. Yeah. Ozzy. Richard tonight. So anything I can't see, can't read, she's going to send to me, and I'll do my best to answer you guys' questions. Okay, so today being March 7th, 2023, I want to point something out. March the 5th was the anniversary of Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler's hit song, The Ballad of the Green Beret. And there was different activities going on that day within the Special Forces community. A lot of memories, a lot of YouTube connections. One thing I did find interesting is I learned about Barry Sadler when I got into Special Forces. Before that, I was in 82nd Airborne. I was a consummate reader of a novel series called Casca. And the novel is about Casca Rufio Longinus. Okay, Casca is noted to be the Roman soldier that took the eternal spear and drove it into Christ Jesus, our Savior and our King, into his side when he was on the crucifixion poles and ended his life mercifully. The way legend goes is the blood of Jesus flowed down the shaft of the spear onto Cascus, and Christ Jesus looked at him and said, "As you are now, so you shall be until the second coming." So basically, he blessed and, or depending on how you look at it, he cursed Casca Rufio Longinus, the Roman legionnaire, to walk the earth as an eternal soldier until the second coming of Christ. I didn't know that Barry Sadler, the writer, author, songwriter of The Ballad of the Green Beret, had written those series. I used to read those series all the time, and I had related that in some of the text back and forth on 5 March with a lot of the 5th Special Forces Group alumni, and not understanding how things happen in history, how things impact you in history. It occurred to me that I had the honor, the privilege of being the last human being, last person, last soldier to bear the urn of Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler at his funeral. And I hadn't thought about that until Sunday, when all the different texts were going around about, celebrating the anniversary. And I just happened to mention to a couple of the guys, said I did Barry Sadler's funeral service, and I had the honor of being the urn bearer of his ashes from the chapel to the hearse, out to the cemetery, the National Cemetery in Madison, Tennessee, and carry his ashes, his urn, up to the gravesite and place it on the pedestal that was lowered into the ground. Interesting part about that is when in the military, when you get assigned funeral service, you want to do the best. I mean, you want to give your best. So of course we rehearse the whole procedure from A to Z. So the day before the funeral service, my team, ODA 544, Alpha Company 2nd Battalion, 5th Group, we were at the chapel with all the people involved, going over the service, the times, our procedures, and we basically, it was myself in the center, team member to my left, team member to my right, walk down from the back of the chapel, down the center of the pews, up to the stand where they had the urn. The urn was going to be placed. And so during the rehearsal that day, which we rehearsed it maybe, 25 times, I used a flower vase. So the day of the ceremony, of course, the chapel was packed with family and friends and you name it. TV crews outside, TV cameras, whole thing. We were in our Class A's. So when everything was said and done by the pastor and the family members, we got the signal to march into the chapel. So we marched into the chapel, left turn down the center of the aisle, ready, march. Step down, step, all the way down to where the urn was placed. And then it was a mock time, ready, halt, 1, 2, stop. We stand up straight, and I forget who it was on my team, but he was giving the commands. And we set it up, say, just all I want to say is, ready, bend. I bend down, pick up the urn, ready, lift. Lift, stand up, and then we do a center turn where I turn and they march, and then face the back of the chapel and march out. It went pristine, as you would show respect to another soldier who had passed away. We got to the front of the chapel, stopped. He said, ready, bend. And I bent down, put my hands underneath the urn, which turned out to be about, I can't remember, 1.5 feet tall. And the urn was solid bronze. Remember, we had rehearsed with me picking up a flower vase. When I bent down to lift, I went, okay. Put it back down a little bit, stood back up. I said, I'm going to take 2 steps forward. They said, go ahead. I took 2 steps forward, more than I had rehearsed, and then I bent at the knees and got my hands underneath it and lifted it up. It was 45 pounds of solid bronze. I was like, okay, I got it. The guy goes, ready, turn. And then we turned, and it said, ready, march. Jump, jump, jump. We marched out of the chapel up to the hearse, and I put it in the back of the hearse. And the guy looked at me, he said, Steve, what was going on? And I looked at him, I said, pick it up. He goes, pick what up? I said, pick the urn up. He goes, okay. And he reached over, typical, kind of bending at the back, and he went to pick it up. He went, oh my God. So we put it back in the hearse, made sure we secured it, because we just didn't think about that the day of the rehearsal. And then hearse went to the cemetery, where the hearse parked to where the gravesite was, about 75, 80 yards. And of course, when we rehearsed, I had rehearsed with a flower vase. So I said, okay, guys, here we go. And I got it up underneath all 45 pounds of it. And we started at 80 something yards marching up to the gravesite. And that was an interesting story that I had absolutely forgotten. And the things that happened to me during my 30 years in the military. So God bless Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler and his family. And it was good to remember him Sunday for the things that he had done for the Special Forces community, and for a lot of the other soldiers who had, read and enjoyed his book, Casca, because, in the 82nd Airborne, that was like, hey, you got, book number 5, you got book, we were sharing all the time. I used to carry a copy of one of the books, book 10, book 11, in my ghillie suit. And whenever I would do stalks, and we would come to a halt, a stalk is 2 hours of you in a ghillie suit, crawling through the grass, through the dirt, through the mud, through the creeks. Every time you come to a certain vantage point, you look at the spotters. I said, okay, I see where the spotter is. I see what he can see. I can't move from here. So I have to back up, and I look over, pick out some terrain that I think he can't see, and I have to work my way over that. And sometimes you would hit a spot where there was a little clearing between trees, but the sunlight was shining, and I can't go across that in the sunlight, but I can't back up. So sometimes you have to wait 15, 20, 25 minutes. So I would slink back into the thick brush, and I whip out my Casca book. I said, okay, I was on page 20. So I started reading my Casca book till I look up and say, okay, now my route is in the shadows. And then I'll start working my way forward. So that was very interesting to me to know and realize that the same Staff Sergeant Sadler that I was honored to be his urn bearer had written the novels that I enjoyed reading so much. So if you ever get a chance, take a look at them, read them, put them up on the internet. It's a very interesting series of Casca Rufio Longinus as he went through his immortal life here on Earth, fighting for the French Foreign Legion, fighting in the Civil War, fighting in World War I. I mean, he always did soldier stuff throughout the centuries. He was a mercenary. And whenever he got to the point where all the people around him would say, man, I've been fighting with you for 4 years and you still look young. And he was, okay, it's time for me to move on. Because he never aged. But interesting date and time this Sunday. Again, I'm absolutely honored to have been the last soldier to hold his ashes, and send him on his way to the kingdom of heaven. So, Tactical Rifleman Nation, what's going on with you guys? Let's check up on the chat room. Something, okay, yeah. So, what are you guys saying? Okay. This is my first time dealing directly with Susan. And okay. Let me see here. Question: did Barry Sadler become a mercenary after his service in the military? I don't know about that. Again, I didn't interact with him when he was alive. He was a bit before my time. Of course, he was in Special Forces during the Vietnam War. I have no idea. I know that he was a songwriter, and the song "The Battle of the Green Beret" was on the Billboard #1 top hit list, #1 for 5 straight weeks. And I want to say that was in maybe 67, 68, something like that. I'm not sure, guys. But we have this thing on the internet. As I always say to you guys, it's a search engine called Google. Do your due diligence, track it down, and let me know. And then we'll both know. Okay. Couple different questions here. Gosh. When we watch footage of the Ukraine war, it seems like a lot of soldiers on both sides are wearing multicam. I thought that was our camo. I I can't answer that question for you. The best I can do is, you guys bear with me because you know my sinuses kick in when I get in call studio with these lights, and this, I guess it's not hard for you guys to see, but I start sweating. So, a little bit on the multicam. So, back in the day, remember we went through a lot of iterations of uniforms. We had the Vietnam era OG 107s. We had the khakis was the dress uniform, and then we had I forget what we called them, but we called them a pickle suit. The worst uniform. Oh my gosh. Our guys loved the OG 107s. Rip stop, dry right away, rain, triple canopy, jungle. That didn't matter. Very durable. They had a tendency, whenever they got wet or dirty, they became the camouflage of the environment that you were in. I mean, they just absorbed the mud and dirt and red clay, and you blend it right in. And oh, excuse me. So, interesting story. I think I've discussed this before. I mean, I'm not on the show to talk about myself, but I mean, I have to talk about myself to explain it. Basically, I was the guy that started Flat Dark Earth, Coyote Tan. And the way that came about, I think we were wearing BDUs at the time. We were out doing some night assessment shooting of some night vision targets. And we had set up 6 different lanes. And to keep the guys from getting confused on the targets, you know, we had the green, flat, hard cardboard E-type silhouette targets on a wooden stick pole. And to keep the guys from being confused, we had the green one was number 1. Number 2, we just flipped it around. It was just a cardboard side. It wasn't green. And so we did that for 6 targets. When the guys showed up that were going to do the shooting, the guy said, "Hey, I'm in lane number 2. I think the target's down." I said, "No, the target's up. I was just down there." He said, "Well, I can't see the targets." So I got behind his rifle, the scope, and I looked. I can't see the targets. So clear, safe your weapons. Everybody, step back away from your weapons. Open the bolt. Blah blah blah. And it went down, and we took some paint and we spray painted, 2, 4, 6. Okay, you got back down and said, "Okay, everybody in lane 2, 4, and 6, can you see your target?" And the guys would say, "I can see the numbers, but I can't see the image of the target." And that dawned on me that you can't see that cardboard color, the brown cardboard that became Flat Dark Earth, through night vision sights. And so basically, after everything was said and done that week, I went back and we were down at the sniper facility. Lord. Yucky. So we're down at the sniper facility. So I basically rehashed what we had done at this other site, and we put targets out to different distances, and we had the guys look for the targets, and they couldn't find them. So we I wrote a white paper, a requirements document stating that we can't see certain colors of brown on the night vision. And at the time, all our body armor was either black from, everybody was wearing black back then because of the SWAT teams and stuff like that, or we run around with the green body armor, or actually just a fragmentation vest, and that was it for combat. So I wrote a requirement document, sent it in, called up to the headquarters, talked to a couple of the top head people, and said this is very interesting, and we included pictures through different scopes, day optics at night, night vision scopes at night, and they all agreed. They said, "Wow," And I remember they had set it up at Fort Bragg, and same test, and they realized that he's right. You can't see it. So funding was made available to find out which exact color was best. And that's when I found out that they have, in the industry, they have what they call a Pantone color code. So every color you look at, there's a code for that. Like John Deere tractors, they have a certain green. That's a Pantone, let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you order paint at Pantone 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to come in exactly that color. So the labs were supposed to find out what Pantone color zone the cardboard was in, and after about 2 or 3 months, they sent some samples to us, and we ran the samples, and they said, "Which one do you think works best?" And I said, "Pantone 567 works best." And we put in a request to change our body armor, because we had the Vietnam issue stuff, to, they designated it as flat dark earth, and we call it coyote tan, coyote brown, coyote tan. So that's how the whole emphasis started moving forward for SOF to change uniforms. Because again, back then we had the BDUs, which was, the green. The green camouflage, which of course, 5th group being desert, it didn't work for us because we went through the different series of uniforms. So anyway, the flat dark earth led to all our body armor, excuse me, assault vests, and eventually our firearms being color coded into that color versus being black. So that led to the different uniforms that became multicam. I don't think anybody owns the rights. Maybe, at Natick Labs or something like that, somebody can answer that question. But for other countries like Ukraine and Russia, we get copied a lot. We spend more money on RDT&E than most countries spend on their military budget. So why not copy us versus spending another $1 or $2 million to come up with that same solution? So I can't tell you whether the Ukraine is getting uniforms from us or how they're working it. So there we are with that. I'll work through this. It's not a Steve-friendly environment. So I hope that answers your question, because 5th group, we were always a progressive unit when it came to coming up with soldier-friendly solutions to combat issues. Again, when I took over the Force Mod office at 5th Group Combat Developments, 19 years in, that was my last job, through 21 and I'm out. And then 9/11 happened. And Colonel Mulholland asked me to stay, so I stayed. Then came back from Afghanistan, and Iraq happened. And he said, Steve, I know I said that, when you had your retirement paper, 9/11 happened in Afghanistan. We said when we come back, sign your retirement papers, you can go. You stayed like I asked for 8 months. And he said, but we're going back into Iraq. He said, you were there the first time. So I know you want to. I said, okay, sir. Okay. So now I'm 22 years in. So at year 30, I said, this train don't stop. I got to get off. So running combat developments, a 5th group, 2-year job, I was there for 12 years straight. So I was one of the entities that sat in these meetings with these different program officers, whether it was vehicles or light machine guns, miniguns, flat dark earth, multicam, suppressors on 240s, Hellfire lights on the 50s and 50 cals, UAVs, drones down to the team level instead of having to ask somebody if you can use a drone. 6.8 SPC, marked up SPC. I was there for 12 years. So guys, I was involved in a lot of different projects. The SFLCS, you name it. And it seems like a lot, but if it's a 2-year assignment, but I was there for 12 years, and remember, I'm right into that job at 9/11. Afghanistan, Iraq, you name it, over and over. It was like 12 years of we were in the conflicts. So a lot of the program officers on Natick Labs, Crane, Rock Island Arsenal, Pinkerton Arsenal, places like that, they were a little more accommodating during wartime than they were during peacetime. Peacetime, they just played their political games all the time. Difference is they can play those games for a guy that was there for 2 years, and then they say, hey, we'll wait him out, and then he's gone. I was there for 12 years. And the guys just always say, man, when you walk into the room, these guys will look up and say, damn, he's still here? We thought, isn't he supposed to be gone? We dealt with him 3 years ago. Say, no, he's still here. So that's why so many different things, aspects of things that I'm aware of and I was involved in. So one of the interesting stories on uniforms into Afghanistan, and I've talked about this before. One of our elements of the group, Alpha 1-5, they were what you would call the strike guys, the CQB guys, the direct action guys, versus the guys that was working with the Afghan warlords and riding around on the horses and ponies. And they said, hey, we're having a problem with our uniforms, camouflage, everything else. So CW2 Don Alexander contacted me from over there. He said, hey, we've got a problem. I said, Don, send me pictures of your terrain, the area you're working, and everything else. So he sent me some pictures. And it had to be like a month before the SHOT Show, because I went to the SHOT Show and I walked around with these pictures, and I went into the section of the SHOT Show for hunting and hunting apparel. And I found a company that sold Bowflage, not just Bowflage, that particular brand, but camouflage hunting pants, parkas, stuff like that for archery hunting, bow hunting, and it matched everything on the pictures, the grays and greens and browns. So I went back, I told the guy, I said, hey, I want to buy some of your product. And he said, oh, okay. How many do you want? I said, probably I'll have to give you the different sizes and everything else. I said, well, probably about 1,200 sets. And the guy looked at me like, so you run a retail store or something like that? I said, no. I represent a segment of the Army, military, and I want to see if this works in combat. And he was just blown away. So anyway, got back, got with my financing people, contracting, got with this guy, blah, blah, blah. We got everything loaded, put it on the pallet, put it on the back of the C5. C5 flew over to Afghanistan. About 2 weeks later, I got a message back saying, awesome, send more. So that was the kind of stuff that being very flexible in that job, meeting the needs of the end user, that always made me feel good about what I was doing, because I was no longer on an A team. So that turned out really well. Short story on the side of asking about the multicam. I'm sure multicam is available on the open market to anybody that wants to buy it. It's probably made in China. Kill him in here. So, okay, I'm gonna try to keep up with you guys. Okay. Okay. Okay, Mitchell wants to know about polymer casing. Polymer ammo. So, Mitchell, yes, I did do a couple of segments here on the show about polymer ammo. Yes, I do believe that polymer ammo is the next evolution of ammo. Remember, there's evolutionary and revolutionary. So evolutionary is improving, enhancing our standard makeup of ammo. Revolutionary would be like going to a phaser rifle, a laser rifle, a pulse beam rifle or something like that. So until they come up with that, if they already haven't, come up with that, then they have the guns from the ship they got out there at Area 51. They just haven't learned how to fire it yet. But evolutionary, I'm a firm believer in polymer casing. We tried everything else. I don't know if you guys remember the H&K caseless ammo. We tried that, just a solid block of powder with a primer in that solid block of powder, no case, and then a bullet seated down inside that, and that didn't turn out so well. But, every 10, 15 years, technology gets better, so somebody might want to try it again. Polymer ammo, 35, 40% less weight, self-lubricating, better ejection extraction because, less weight. We always seem to get about maybe 10, 15% more energy because when you fire, that heat and that energy transfers to the brass, which transfers that heat to the chamber walls. And polymer doesn't do that. It flexes, but it doesn't transfer heat. So all that energy's got to go somewhere. And we used to fire, and I would catch a case when it was ejected, and I hand it to somebody that was there, one of the program guys, and they would grab the case like, oh, because they expected it to be hot. They was like, wait a minute, this thing isn't even hot. I said, no. Therefore, the gun isn't hot. Therefore, you're having less heat on the chamber, less heat in the barrel, and of course, we had to have them use thermometers and temperature gauges and everything else so they can figure that out. Of course, we had to pay them money for them to do that. That's what these program officers do. They want money, even though they work for the government. We have to give them government money. And we found out that the guns ran hot less with polymer ammo. So it should have been done up and running and out to the troops right now in 15, 16 years ago. Easily. The guys I was working with, they were funded by the government, and the government has RDT&E levels. They call them TRLs, Technology Readiness Levels. So level 1 is like, you got an idea. Level 2 is you made a mock-up. When you're at 7, that's like, putting a light on a minigun. I turn the light on, I can see 300-400 meters and smoke something with the minigun, and that's 7. It works, and it's to the point where they can produce it. I would say with the polymer ammo I was dealing with, and this is probably 2005. They were funded. They got the TRL level 5, and the government offices they were dealing with, the program office, stopped their funding. And, you know, so I'm reading all this. I'm reading all this in the message traffic and say, hey, why'd you cut off their funding? They were almost there. I mean, we were shooting demonstrations, and basically what it came down to was politics. They were working on the LSAT ammo, the what they call the telescoping ammo, which is basically a fancy name for a shotgun sable type design. So I'm thinking to myself, looking at this telescoping ammo, I said, wait a minute, it's just a shotgun shell, sable, a slug design. You know, why does it cost $55 million? Whereas this polymer ammo, we can have 5.56, 7.62, and 6.8 SPC polymer ammo for like $5.2 million. So why does it cost you $55 million to make a smaller shotgun slug and then put a 5.56 bullet in it? It doesn't make sense to me. A lot of that stuff never made sense to me. Of course, I understand why they do that. It was all about the money. And I used to tell my guys all the time, I say, guys, if you're working on a program or a project and it's not, you know, walking like a dog, barking like a dog like it should, follow the money. And it was always about the money, the money, the money. We could have had, I remember we worked with Task Force 160 on the Little Birds and the miniguns, and we did a polymer case 7.62 demo with them on the Little Birds, and the amount of weight they would save on the Little Birds with their ammo cans in polymer was like 29 pounds. And I was like, 29 pounds. And I talked to one of the pilots. I said, hey, 29 pounds is a big deal. And he goes, Sarge, 29 pounds is huge. He said, we weight everything that goes on that bird. Everything. He said, even when we put our uniforms on and what we put in our pockets, extra pens and pencils, and, I want to carry a big bowie knife. You know, they said, no, that's adding another 16, 17 ounces to your lift weight, to your loader time. And he said 29 pounds and carrying the same 8,000 rounds of ammo, save 29 pounds. He said that's huge. He said that gives him another, like 17 minutes of time on the target. He said, yeah. He said, when you like somebody to be over your head another 17 minutes? I said, you're absolutely right. So there are different companies out there that have pursued this. The guy that I was working with, he owned the patent. His business associates tried to sell the patent to Remington. Another company that his engineer left and started another company, and blah, blah. I just shake my head because it's not about them. It's not about them making $600, $700 million. It's about giving our guys a better capability that it's going to make a difference. Because we would load all our vests and in polymer ammo, and they would weight a vest with brass ammo, weight a vest in polymer ammo, and the difference was huge. And that was 35% less weight than 7.62. And 50 cal, I think it was 43% less weight. That's huge, So, somebody out there who is going to do well with this, but not trying to become rich overnight, they can make it happen. I wanted to say I could probably make it happen in about 6 to 8 months. Just like that. And it's been 15, 16 years. Nobody on the other side wants to do it because they want money for projects like LSAT, telescoping ammo. I wish my good brother Jim Schatz was still around. Jim Schatz was the professor of pointing out the programs, especially when it came to strike engagement, that were wasting money. I'm not going to spend all this time, going through it, but one program they spent $350 million over 8 years, and we got nothing. Got nothing out of it. And I looked at them. I said, "Hey, we did the Mark 12 SPR and the 6.8 ammo in about 14 months at about $7,000." And just one of those shaking my head moments. And it's not going to change until somebody makes them change. That's why they're afraid of President Trump. Businessman is a good way to go for president. Okay. I guess I'm getting behind here. Okay. Susan. Okay. Okay, what do we got? Donovan, I know there's a mod Holland, but did you do any work on the SOC mod Block 1, Block 2 program? Donovan, tell you the truth, myself and Master Sergeant Walt Minton, we were the SOC mod 1 and SOC mod 2 program. We got it started. Very good interaction with the Navy SEALs on that program. Matt Luna comes to mind. Our big friend Mark Lasky, and some others. I don't know if they want to be named here or not. But yeah, from the beginning, from the absolute beginning, we were the first ones to say, why don't we have flashlights on available on our firearms like the police do? Because you got to remember, back in the day, in the late 80s, early 90s, the police community, tactical community, led the way on tactical stuff. SWAT was like the hot thing. They had shows, movies, and we were in Kuwait City, and we used to have mag lights. The big police mag lights. You can beat somebody up with them. We had mag lights taped with 100-mile-an-hour tape, duct tape, onto our carbines and our rifles as we were clearing buildings, clearing caves, clearing basements, cellars, stuff like that. And I can go on and on and on. Block 1 was the beginning. That was in its infancy, where we were trying to take elements of different things, police, SWAT, tactical, and competition. I spent a lot of time going to competition matches, going to Camp Perry. Camp Perry was the beginning of the Mark 12 SPR, free floating the barrel. Going to different tactical competition to watch the guys with muzzle brakes, foregrip handles, triggers. The main trigger for the Mark 12 was not the nice armament 2-stage full auto trigger. It was a company in Arizona called Accuracy Speaks. They had a single stage 3.5-pound trigger that was also full auto. That was the trigger that was selected for the Mark 12 from the beginning of the program. I said, hey, we want to build a designated marksman rifle kind of thing, a recce rifle, 16.5 inches, 18 inches, and we want to free float the barrel, take the pressure off the barrel. We want lights, we want the lasers, we want the trigger, because back then the Army had the 3-shot burst thing, and Derek, I can't remember Derek's last name, on Accuracy Speaks, he had an awesome trigger. So let's go. Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Okay. Are we back? Are we back? Hello? Test 1, 2, 3. Okay, Susan says we're back. Okay. Trying to get to you guys' questions as fast as I can. Howard, question: how does someone deal with allergies if you're on patrol or observing some enemy positions? Probably shoot him. If I've actually had this happen with some sniper missions. Not with myself, but either with my spotter or some other people, and it's just one of those things that you have to just muffle yourself, and it's kind of odd that whenever I'm here in Cole's subterranean man cave office, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that big server over there when it's blowing, if it's not, but it's not. Doesn't have the proper, like, there's no air filter kind of thing. I guess it doesn't bother Carl because he's been doing it for a gazillion years. So we just bear with it. Okay, we're trying to. Okay, so let's see, is that from Rob? Rob, is that rifle on the bottom a 9mm? I'm glad you asked, because those two firearms, when you go through the NRA training courses to be an NRA instructor, whenever you get to the portion of the training where they have you give a class, every time you say weapon in the class, you got to put $5 in the jar. Okay, I was in the military for 30 years. I said weapon a lot. I think I ended up putting like $45 in the jar. So now you notice that whenever I look at a firearm, I always say a firearm, because that's what it is. Like they said about John Wick, a pencil can be a weapon. So, Rob, what we have here, and I was waiting to get into this portion, but since you asked, the rifle at the top, and you guys know, especially you guys that were in the Patreon course, know that I'm a big lever action fan. It's something about actually actuating the action to feed that cartridge into the chamber, and to know that you did that made it happen. And so you have more awareness. It's kind of like running a bolt gun. Same thing. Not that I don't shoot semi-automatics. I mean, I designed the Mark 12 SPR, and I don't know why people say, well, you designed the SPR Mod H. They're both the same thing, just one's got a shorter barrel. So I understand the whole thing. Precision Reflex that's just their marketing thing, and shame on them. But I enjoy lever actions. I enjoy pistol cartridges a lot, and a lot more in the last 5 to 10 years because of the price of ammo. The carbine on the top is the Henry X in 357 Magnum, pistol cartridge. This is the same Henry X that we fired at the Patreon course, and we had a good time. Susan, did we not? Maria, did we not? And Maria was with us. Her and her husband, Fred, was with us at the Valentine's Day celebration show up in Nashville. And she was looking forward to meeting Mr. Dan from Henry, who, because of some family issues, he couldn't make it for that show. But basically, pistol carbines, and I'm going to go back and forth. The lever action X is basically their tactical version. And you've got the ability to mount day optics, red dot sights. You've got rails, 1913 rails underneath the front of the forearm for lights or lasers, and then you've got the M-lock slots left and right on the forearm. The muzzle is threaded 5/8 24 for either muzzle brakes, suppressors, or unlike linear comps blast deflectors like the Vesky Flaming Pig, the KX300 and the KX500 are two of my favorites. We've also had the Surefire War Comp with the Warden blast deflector. And guys, blast deflectors, you should seriously consider putting blast deflectors on your firearms, because it really makes a difference when you're shooting next to someone else. As you guys in the Patreon course found out on the range, especially the guys that are running these horizontal comps with like 6 ports. It's like, my gosh, a little bit of consideration. But the X model comes in 357 Magnum, which of course will shoot 38 Special. If you have someone, a young child, a middle-aged child, first introduction for your girlfriend or your wife to firearms, 38 Special is very mild, very quiet. You don't get the big blast and flash and everything else that a lot of small stature people are bothered by it. So it comes in 357 Magnum, which will shoot 38 Special. It also comes in 45 long coat, 4570, and you can get that exact same lever action configuration in 410 shotgun shells, which is very interesting because if you think about it, and of course you got the king of lever actions, the 4570, which is one of my favorites. I like the 410 shotgun because it gives you so many options. You can run 7.5, number 8 shot for squirrels, rabbits, quail, ducks, raccoons, possums raid your trash can. Oh, but if Randy used to call them gritters. Man, stop. I said, what? There's a gritter running across the road. He hated possums for some reason. But with the 410, you can go up to like number 6 shot, number 4 shot for killing vermin. You can go to buckshot. You can go to slugs. They have 410 flechettes. They have 410, the flaming breath dragon thing that shoots a flame of flash, like, I don't know what it is, 45, 50 feet. I don't know why somebody came up with that, but they have them. You can order them on the internet. So those who like lever actions, and again, especially when you're training someone, of course you can get it in a 22 long rifle. It's good to do it with something that's mild and something that's controllable. Sometimes you train people on semi-automatics, the first step up, they tend to forget that once they pull the trigger, the gun's already reloaded itself. So that's one of the reasons why I like lever actions. So Henry X, 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum, 45 Colt, 410, 4570. This is the new 2003 Henry Homesteader 9mm carbine. And it is a blowback operated carbine. And I like the way they're taking the pistol carbines back to the old lineage of just nice wood. I like a nice tactical pistol cartridge carbine. I run a Ruger PCC, a couple of others on AR-15s, but just sometimes, that good old American patriotism. You just want some nice wood. You can see I mounted a rail mount scope base on it, but I didn't put a red dot optic or anything else on it. It just kind of takes away those. Look at those lines. I mean, look at those smooth lines on that. I mean, it just makes you kind of not want to put something up there unless it just blends. And one of the things that I try to point out to carbine manufacturers, especially when you're dealing with blowback, because blowback doesn't require a buffer tube, buffer spring in the stock. So the way the AR-15 is with that straight buffer tube, it forces you to go up to 1.5 to 2 inches above the upper receiver, which is above the bore. So on the AR-15, you're always going to be 1.5 to 2 inches above the bore line. And I'm a big fan of staying as tight to the bore line as you can. I mean, okay, if that's the barrel, right? That's the barrel. I don't want to be off the barrel up here. Okay? It affects the accuracy. It affects the trajectory and the line of sight. The closer you are to the bore, the better. Basically what I'm saying. You want to be right there. If you could see through the bore as a bullet travels down, which nobody's invented something like that yet, but that's even better. So carbine manufacturers normally work the drop in the stock. I forget what we call it. I talk about it every day, but I can't even think of it right now. That allows you to see through the iron sight. See how low those iron sights are? Rear sight, aperture sight on the Homesteader, which is very good sight versus you know what I'm talking about, the leaf sight, U-knot sight. See how low that aperture sight is? That goes along the stock to where your head is. Once you get over here, this rail seems like it's low, but if you notice, it's already blocking the aperture from the aperture sight on the rear sight. So once I add a red dot sight, it's going to sit about that high. So now I'm looking off the bore about 2 to 3 inches. Yeah, you're going to zero it, but at a certain range. And depending on the velocity and trajectory, ballistic coefficient of the projectile you're firing, you're going to have a crossing point at some point, and then it's going to start to grade. Okay? The sight, when you do put a red dot sight on it, you're going to want to have that rail. First step is the rail. Okay? It needs to be low. If you look at the carbine, I can't touch it because of YouTube, but if you look at the carbine and the red dot sight on the lever action, that rail, which is a EGW rail, they make great rails, but that rail is not the right height. You're going to have to come off that stock the cheek of your stock, probably about 4 to 5 inches to see down the center of the red dot sight. So basically, when you're shooting, instead of being here and tucked in, you're going to have your head up. Now, if it's a mild cartridge, pistol cartridge like 357, 38 Special, you can get away with it. If you're shooting anything else, if you're shooting a 45-70 and your sight is that high, you're going to get whiplash. I'm here to tell you right now, it's going to snap your neck, and it might snap your doggone caps on your root canal. So when you shoot something like a hot 44 Magnum or 45-70, you want to be tucked in right here. You don't want to sit here with your head up, okay? There's no support. So basically, the Homesteader carbine, the magazine you see here at the bottom, that's a 5-shot magazine. It also comes with their own 10-shot magazine. And I know what you're thinking. Before you even say it, and question me about it, this right here, ta-da, I'm going to open up the bag for you. Presentation, drum roll. This is a snap-on magwell. Ta-da! Where's my thing at? Ta-da! This is a interchangeable magwell. I can take their magwell off in their magazine, and I can put this magwell on, and guess what? Ta-da! The Homesteader will be able to take a Glock magazine. Drum roll. That's the first thing I asked when I saw it. I said, which magazine did you use? He said, we have our proprietary magazine. I just went, he said, but we also have an adapter that comes with it that takes the Glock magazines for the Glock 17 and the Glock 19 9mm. Ta-da! So, that is the Homesteader. Now, if you notice, I think it's kind of hard to see. The charging handle is there. That's on the left side. The charging handle is ambidextrous. You can pull that out. You don't have to do those screws, nothing. It's double ball detents inside the bolt. You push it, snap it in. I can pull that out, put it on the right side. Because some people, I prefer my charging handles on the left side, right here. But at the same time, some people prefer it on the right side. I mean, that's a personal choice, personal liberty. God bless America. So the bolt, you can't see it right here because I can't point to it. I don't want to touch it. But there are double slide releases, ambidextrous slide releases in front of the trigger guard. So when the bolt locks to the rear on the last round, you pop it, slap it in the magazine, and you don't hit the charging handle, but you can hit the either left hand, right hand, bolt slide release, whatever you want to call it. And they made it so it's each one of them on both sides of the trigger, ambidextrous. One of the things that I like, because you don't have a lot of the pistol carbines, rifle carbines set up that are blowback, most of your safeties are on the front of the trigger. You got your little round button, you push from the left, push to the right. Henry put a tag safety on the Homesteader. You can't see it right now, but right here is a safety, what you call the tag. Anytime that part of the rifle firearm is called the tag. Well, some shotguns, like Brownies, you have, instead of having a cross bolt push button in front of the trigger guard, this one, the tag safety is here. So when you hold the rifle here, and you want to go to fire, you take your thumb and you push that safety forward. You don't have to come off the trigger group and reach forward and push that button back and forth. And if you want to put it on safe, you just bring it back towards you. Push away from you, like the bullets go that way to fire, and then back for safe. So the lines, and of course I've come up with some ideas and concepts of making it, everybody, you know, has their own flavor when it comes to add modifications to a firearm. Of course, I would like to have a red dot sight. I like to have a really compact, sweet 30 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 1:4 scope that doesn't exceed the back end of the receiver or the front end of the receiver, but down low, so I can tuck in and get as close to the bore as possible. But again, I don't want to slap some big giant, you know, red dot sight or optic on there and just kind of like take away from the lines, because even though it's tactically capable carbine, I just don't want to overtack it. You know, everybody wants these rails and M-locks and all this other stuff. I would like to see that, but I would like to see it blended. So I've got some ideas and some concepts I come up with, and so more to follow. To continue, it's difficult to see, but the muzzle is threaded, and it's threaded in half by 28. I was going to put a Noveski Flaming Pig KDX 500 on it. The 500 is a smaller one, but they hadn't come in yet, so I haven't had the opportunity to do that. And I mean, I'm going to shoot it with the pig on it, but I kind of look at it and go, man, how's it going to look with the pig on it? Because it's got such clean lines, and that really is some beautiful wood. I didn't read into the information that came with it to see what kind of wood it is, but that is some really beautiful wood, and it's just one of those things that, you know, sometimes you want to take a break from all this black tactical, you know, flat dark earth tactical. You know, sometimes you just want something nice and homesteady. You know, it's a homesteader. Any questions on either one? I'm ready to go. Let's see, what better for... Matthew, what's better for 400 to 600 meters? The Mark 262 or the 6.8? Interesting question, Matthew. Technically, 400 to 600. If you would have said 600, I would say the Mark 262. I mean, it's got a higher ballistic coefficient bullet. I mean, 77 grain is heavy for caliber for 5.56. And the Mark 262, when I did the Mark 262, 77 grade, and I worked with Troy Lawton at the AMU, did a lot of time out at Camp here watching the guys shoot service rifle. And that was the intent of the Mark 12 SPR, to be mated up with the 77 grain 5.56 that AMU was using to win competition, and it became the Mark 262. So at 600, I would take the Mark 262 if I was shooting competition. If it was my go gun, I'm going to take 6.8 SPC. The 6.8 is, in my opinion, is downloaded by a lot of the companies out there that make it. I think Silver State Armory runs a decent velocity with certain weights of bullets. Or did I say Silver State Armory? Shame on them. I don't like to mention names like that. Silver State Armory, shame. Precision Reflex, shame. But if I was shooting 600, I would shoot the Mark 262. Can the 6.8 do 600? Yes, it will, all day long. But we are a nation of accuracy nuts, okay? We get lost so much into this whole accuracy thing. It blows me away, because there's combat accuracy and then there's competition accuracy. Very similar to the gun designs. There are piston guns, and then there are gas impingement guns. AR-15, AK-47. So, piston guns tend to be less accurate than gas impingement guns. Of course, you got this one little lightweight tube, the gas is going back, there's no heavy movement in regards to disturbing the gun, disturbing the barrel harmonics, anything else. But at the same time, reliability comes into play. I've seen AK-47s come from out of salt spray, mud, you name it. And with a couple of squirts of WD-40, they're up and running again. I did some work in Ethiopia right after the battle with the Russians and the Derg, and the king Haile Selassie was killed, and then their independence battle between Ethiopia and Eritrea and the Russians. We got some AK-47s out of some warehouses down in Massawa on the Red Sea. They were in the Russian boxes. They were sitting there for probably about 15 years in that saltwater spray. You know, bunch of boxes with dead Russians in it also. That's another story. But we formed an assembly line. You know, a couple of guys would spray with WD-40. The next guy in line had a leather mallet. He'd whack the charging handle about 10 times. Go back to another guy who would spray it down with WD-40. Go back to forward to another guy who would pull it out and wipe all the stuff out. At the end of that 15 soldier line was 7 guys spread left to right with a bunch of magazines stopped piled on the tables, and they would just fire these guns that have been laying there for 15 years down at sea level. I mean, not even a couple hundred meters from the Red Sea. I mean, it was amazing. And so you just have to have that decision-making process where you go, okay, what's going to serve me best, the most reliable, over a certain amount of years, okay? And of course, we being Americans, we're always into accuracy. You know, 1 MOA, you know, half MOA. Like Mr. White used to always tell us, son, you can't hold a half a minute. And I spent 5 years at the 5th Group Sniper School, started it, was first instructor, you know, and I tell you, I've seen some guns that hammer. But there aren't a lot of guys out there that can hammer like the gun hammers. You know, why do you think bench press shooters, when they shoot these bench guns, they're like 50-pound blocks of concrete and steel and these big giant cradles, and all they do is reach over there and touch the trigger. Is that really a gun? Okay, is that truly like a gun? That's more like a battleship turret locked in. Okay, so a lot of people spend a lot of money for guns and barrels and twist rates and hand loads and everything else, and they talk about half many guns. Hey, go ahead and drop five grand on a half minute gun, and then another $2,500 on a scope and all this other ammo. You might not can hold a half a minute. I'm telling you, I've shot a lot of guys' guns that, you know, oh, here's a $3,000 gun, and watch this guy shoot, and he shoot, you know, 4-inch groups at 100. I'd shoot the gun, shoot 3/4 of an inch, sometimes ½ inch, you know. I've got the targets to prove it. It's just that, you know, as Mr. White said, you can't always hold a ½ an inch. But we are a country of accuracy nuts. So whatever makes you happy, man. Whatever floats your boat, you know. Say, hey, I'll take a 5.56 and a 100, 200-yard engagement any day of the week. Me, I said, I'll take a pistol carbine because I can hold it and I can hit more often. It's light. I can handle it. I can pass it off to my son or my daughter. You know, I mean, anything like that. You know, that people are comfortable with. You know, you always have to have these big boomers. I mean, I lived that whole thing when I was over sniper school. I had war cannons. You know, dropping 125 grains of powder into one cartridge case. You know, so accuracy is accuracy. This 9mm carbine is an accurate carbine. Is it more accurate than the Mark 12 shooting Mark 262? More than likely, no. But inside the range and distances that I need, it has other attributes for me. Okay? Did I answer your question? Hope so. Okay, back to the questions. Okay. Grog. Is that Greg or Grog? I go with Grog. Grog is a cool name, man. Grog. My name is Grog. Okay, Grog. Grog asks, I've had my ADC for 30 years, no attachments, gadgets. You recommend staying with what I know and have to train with, or get something new with a light and red dot? Start that training. Grog, my opinion, if it works for you, it fits you, you know it, you know, go with it. I mean, sometimes something new isn't always something better. I will caveat that with my universal saying on any firearm, whether it's a lever action, pistol carbine, semi-automatic, pistol carbine, AR-15, EDC, shotgun, have a light on it. I don't know what your EDC is. I don't need to know what your EDC is. But I can't imagine any firearm out there, handgun, pistol, that there isn't some kind of bracket or mount or something that you can put on there where you can put a light. Because a light is there for you to identify. Is it a viable threat? Or is it a family member? Or is it a drunk family member who came over? Or is it a neighbor who's in distress and they need you and your EDC to come over? Have a light on it. Lasers, to me that's a personal thing, but a light on the EDC and a light for your hand, okay? A light on the EDC and a light, okay? Good example, okay? Light. I have a light on my EDC, and I also carry a light. That way, after I engage, and I don't want to address the threat or non-threat by walking up with a gun light, now that I see that, spread out, okay? Kick the gun away. I don't want to, continue to press the issue with a hot firearm, or if I need to look somewhere or something else and not address it with the firearm, so I carry an additional light. And in addition to that, I also carry, can I see that? A little light right here, a little flat light that is that thin and is USB chargeable. I love USB chargeable. DO123s cost a bunch. So please, Grog, or is it Greg? Get a light. Get two lights. Get an EDC, light on your EDC, and a light to have in your pocket. Okay? I hope that answers your question. I'll leave the laser thing up to you. So, what do we got here? Good. Oh, wow. Rifleman. Here's an interesting question and solution. Riff says, hey, Steve, I use charcoal briquettes For reactive 22 long rifle targets, they are inexpensive. Yes, they are. They disintegrate dramatically when hit. Yes, they do. Well, they should, because I never shot one. But it's interesting. I'm liking this. And they dissolve into fertilizer in the rain. What are your favorite 22 long rifle targets? Well, Riff, I believe they're going to be charcoal briquettes, because it never occurred to me to do that. My son, he would get the skeet clay, the clay birds, clay targets. He would shoot them, and some of them would like do real good. Some of them wouldn't. But of course, you got to clean them up, and they're expensive. I'm going to try some charcoal briquettes. Most of my 22 long rifle targets are steel. They're the little tiny steel reactive targets. You know, you hit one, it spins. It keeps my, I call it my children, the young adults, as they were growing up, keeps them interested. And it never occurred to me to try charcoal briquettes. Coach, I hope you watching the show. Because Coach, I'm gonna bring Coach on the show one of these days. Coach is he's here in Fort Campbell area, Tennessee. He's a former vet, fought in Vietnam. He's a master of 22 long rifle, long distance shooting. Coach shoots 22 long rifle at 300 to 400 yards. Coach, have you ever thought about or used, or do you know to use charcoal briquettes as reactive targets for 22 long rifle? I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool as a reactive target for pistol caliber carbines. Mr. Lehman, look at you. We got to get Mr. Lehman something related to 22 long rifle things. Okay? Big Fezzik, what's my favorite blast deflector? Right now, until something better comes along, and again, I don't try to get too much into, different manufacturers of different items, especially if they don't sponsor the show. But for right now, it's Noveske Flaming Pig, the KX300, KX500. I do have a couple of Surefire war comps with the Wardens. We have one that we're getting ready to do some work on. Oh my gosh. I can't think of the name of it. It's Kill Dead Break, something like that. I like the design. It's a really innovative design. The way it fits onto the muzzle. I'll bring that back up on the next show. I'll separate the upper receiver and actually be able to show you guys that. But right now, it's the Noveske Flaming Pig. Very fun. Simple Paratus. How you doing, brother? I knew you're out there somewhere. A little birdie told me the DOD is scrapping the XM5 as the NGSW for mass issue. Is this true? Paratus, your little birdie might not be in my little bird house. So, I don't know. However, I know some people who probably do know. So ask me again on the next show, and I possibly may be able to answer that for you. Donovan, what do you think about the new URG, or SOP mod block, if you will, the SFUs now? I really don't think about it that much. I know on the URGs, there's been some issues with heating. I don't want to go too much into, different manufacturers, who they are, what their how their stuff is doing, that I haven't used. I mean, I have sources that have mentioned some issues with the current stuff the guys have, and one of the top complaints was overheating up around the gas block area, the gas block not fitting. So, but I don't have any. I haven't shot them, so I'm going to try to stay away from that one. Or you can always sit around with a bottle of tequila, and I might mention some things. See you when I see you. So, what we got here? Here, you got that one. I see that one. Got the circle briquettes. Steve, would you run a Would you run a 3 to 18 or 1 to 8 grid reticle? So I'm assuming he's talking about day optic, 3 to 18 or 1 to 8 on an AR running Mark 262, trying to max out effective range, but don't want to build a gun that's too cumbersome. Three to 18 is going to be, it's just the laws of physics. It's going to be a big scope. It's going to be a big day optic scope. I'm a big fan of 1 to 8s. I'm a big fan of 2.5 to 10s. I very seldom go over 12. And there are some shortfalls on magnified optics. As you get higher magnification, because it's going to cause eye fatigue, and a lot of people don't address that, or I haven't seen a lot of people address that in the civilian world. It's a known factor for snipers. I mean, even running training, we tell the guys, say, hey, after a set amount of time, seconds to minutes, depending on what you're doing, if it's observation or it's actually target engagement, you have to come off the optic. And that's why if the spotter is working me in on something and he's not ready to like actually put me on the target, then I always rest my head away from the optic. Because I mean, at work, yeah, sounds so strange, at work. We've had 3.5 to 15s, 3.5 to 18, something like that. And after a certain amount of time, it fatigues your eyeball, your eye muscle. It's even in the book somewhere. And so for my personal rifles, I have a few 3.5 to 14s, but I think that's probably as high as I go. I mean, I just don't believe in going anything higher. That's why we make ghillie suits and we do stalks and everything else. Because you got to remember, if you're shooting just to shoot, like you're saying, to maximize whatever caliber you're using, whatever rifle, you're doing it in a recreational setting. In combat, I mean, once you go outside the wire, you might not come back for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, a week or two. Remember, God bless him, my friend, Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock. He went into a Viet Cong battalion area. I think it was a battalion, brigade maybe. Crawled in and was there for quite a while before he shot the commander, and then had to crawl out as they were just going crazy trying to shoot down and kill the jungle trying to find him. So being on something like that, I'm almost certain his coast in Vietnam were the Unerdal and the Redfield. Now their Unerdal was a fixed 10 power, and the Raid had been running Unerdals on their M40s for almost 30 years, and they've done some good work. So 3 to 18. I mean, I've seen guys. You know, I always ask guys, why do you have that spotting scope on top of your rifle? You know, I mean, we're accuracy nuts. We're accuracy nuts. I mean, I gotta get that last fly that's on the outside of that X-ray at 900 meters, and that fly has damage on his left wing. That's how close you want to be at 1,000 and 800. I just kill him. I don't. Oh, I shoot him in the left breast pocket. Oh, I didn't hit the left breast pocket. I hit in between the left breast pocket and the right breast pocket. I hit him directly in the sternum. Okay, I'll take that. I got to get the hell out of here. Okay, so yes, my personal opinion, I don't like to go above 14. And my two favorite hunting rifles, one's a 6.8, and one is a Remington 300 Arsenal short action ultra magnum, whatever you want to call it. It's like the 300 Winchester short magnum. They both have 2.5 to 10 scopes on it, and I've hunted with those two rifles probably 27 years. And I have options to put something else in there, but I don't. I've not ever gone above 10 on my hunting rifles, and I've never gone above 14 back when I used to work. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Justin, hey Steve, do you have an Instagram or anything like that? Hey Justin, what the hell is an Instagram? Hey Justin, what the hell is a TikTok? Hey Justin, what the hell is a Snapchat? What the hell is whatever the other stuff is? No. Or do I? I don't know. I don't keep up with it. I mean, I'm just now getting into the social media since Carl decided to, bring me in on the show. No, I don't. But I would be interested in hearing from you or anyone else in the TR Nation in regards to having one or not having one. What are the advantages and disadvantages? I mean, I've never had anybody say, hey, man, you need to get an Instagram. So if you think that Steve needs an Instagram, and you say, Steve, this is why I think you should have an Instagram, then I will read it and I will consider it. Pros and cons. It's just the kind of guy I am. So I want to Guys, give me 30 seconds, okay? I'll be right back. I'm not like Carl. Like I said, I was in the military for 30 years. 4 years in the 82nd Airborne and 24 years in the 5th Special Forces Group. They broke things on me sometime, or I had things break that they've never been able to fix. So I can't sit here like Carl for 2 hours. But give me 30 seconds, I'll be right back. Up we go. Ah. Okay, I'm back. Are we there? Susan, you got me? Okay, so Matthew, what are my thoughts on the Marine Corps getting rid of scout snipers? Those are my thoughts. Are you out of your freaking mind? Oh my gosh. You guys are the standard bearers when it comes to rifle marksmanship, when it comes to combat rifle engagements. I mean, not, saws running, 240s running, 50 cals running, miniguns running. Hey, that guy, him, right there. Boom. That guy, him, right there. Boom. I thought I was a shooter when I went to Marine Corps Scout Sniper Instructor School. I was reborn. I was already in Special Forces. I was already in a sniper, very sensitive mission format. And I was reborn. I'm like, these guys go to the KD range to qualify. They spend 5 days at the range. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's like getting rid of NASCAR, man. That's a higher level that is. That's a higher level that is. Put the word out that they're going to get rid of NASCAR. So, that's how I feel about that. I went through Marine Corps Scout Sniper Instructor School, I want to say 1986. Okay? What's up, Cole?
How you doing, Steve?
Good, brother. How you doing? You look worn out.
I'm doing awesome.
You're doing awesome.
I just got home from my night range.
We don't care, do we? We said how he's doing. How he wants to tell us how his day was. That's why he's got a wife. Okay? TR Nation is like, whatever, Cole. Let's go back to the story, Steve.
Okay.
Good night. Good day. Good day.
Go back to your story.
Welcome back, brother.
I'm listening. I'm watching.
Like my setup?
Yeah, I do. I like
Looking good, ain't it? That looks good.
Good. Looks good.
So, I went through Marine Corps Scout Sniper School, 1986, I want to say. I'll bring you a picture next time. We were in team room, and this is when 5th Group was at Bragg, and I was getting ready to go to Ranger School, and I had a Ranger School slot, and I had trained. Back in those days, teams got Ranger School slots like very seldom, and it was my opportunity that they said, "Hey man, you've been on the list for Ranger School for a gazillion years. There's 2 slots come up. One went to 1st Battalion. The one that came to the 2nd Battalion, they went through the schools guy went through the list, and they said, "Hey man, Steve Holland is up." I mean, they had guys trying to, "Hey man, I got a case of beer outside in the truck. I'll get your Ranger School slot." So I got told I had a Ranger School slot, and it was like 4 months away. So I started training. I'm going to Ranger School. I'm training. I'm not gonna be no send back, no recycle. 6 or 7 days before I was to leave Bragg to go to Fort Benning for Ranger School, they walked in and said, "Hey, there's a slot for sniper school." They said, "You're the primary sniper on the team," and that's back when we had the no talk about mission. So that was primary. I mean, that was Ranger School was not our primary mission, but the sniper thing was a primary mission. I was like, man, no, I'm going to Ranger School. I've been waiting like 3 years, something like that. I said, which sniper school is it? Something like Fort Benning or something like that. They go, no, it's the Marine Corps Scout Sniper Instructor School at Quantico. I said, I'm in. I'm going. The hell with the Ranger slot, Because I told my team sergeant, I said, he goes, number one, sniper mission is a part of your mission on this team. He said, number two, you can always get maybe an Army Ranger Sniper School slot. I said, but Marine Corps Scout Sniper School, he said, I asked the schools guy, he said, this is the first time we've ever gotten a slot. And because of our mission, you get to go. So after all that training I did, I said, yeah, I'm going to Quantico. And I was enlightened. I thought I knew sniper operations. I knew sniper shooting, I knew sniper marksmanship, but I didn't fully understand sniper operations until I went to Quantico. They have a process in there out of those 8 weeks. They call them TEWTs. It's TEWTS. TEWT. Tactical Exercise Without Troops. And they basically said, hey, we're going to drop you into this fictitious country, and you need to tell us how you and your observer are going to infill by helicopter or by truck or whatever. And then at the end of the training that day, let's say training ends at 1800, then you go to dinner, you come back to the classroom, and they said, they give you a scenario, and you got to write an op order, basically what it is, about how you and your observer, what your equipment is. You're going to get on a C-141 Star Lifter. It's going to fly you to South America. You're going to get off the plane here. You're going to jump. You're going to land at some airfield. You and your spotter are going to move on a 219-degree azimuth into the jungle, and you have to write this thing out to detail. To detail. I've never had that. I'd already been through Special Forces training. I knew how to land there. Ha! But the Corps will take you to another level. They will. And they want to get rid of Scout Sniper School? Get rid of Scout Snipers? Why don't we just get rid of NASCAR? That's all I'm saying. Okay? So, we're going to move along here, and we're going back to, we're not going to do the box of tonight. We're going to do what one of the TR Nation guys asked me a long time ago about a shaking my head moment. Okay? And I said, no, I don't have any shaking my head moments. But after I started thinking about just moments, as I said earlier on the show, in respect and honor to Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler and the anniversary of the Battle of the Green Beret this past Sunday, and I had forgotten about it. I realized I had been the urn bearer of his ashes at his funeral service. I was the last soldier to ever touch his ashes before he was buried, and I had forgotten all about it. So you have things that occur, but you forget about it. So I started thinking about shaking my head moments. So I'm going to try to walk you through this, and just bear with me. I'm going to bring up some pictures. You'll hear me, but you won't be able to see me as I describe this moment of me shaking my head. So what you're looking at is a map of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Iraq. On the left photo, you'll see up top, you'll see King Khalid Military City, which was the base for Special Forces, well, 2nd Battalion Special Forces in Saudi Arabia during Operation Desert Storm. If you come down toward the middle, bottom, right in the middle, you'll see a town called Hafr al-Batin. Okay? And I'll go over that later, why the name Hafr al-Batin is significant. Now go down to the bottom, you see a town called Aruki. Okay? Ruki is the last town before you cross into Kuwait, and then if you went east, you cross into Iraq. They call it the tri-border area. Okay. In the middle picture, you see our Ragia, and down below that, you'll see again our Ruki, even though it's not spelled out. If you look to the right of our Ragi, you'll see this dark line that looks like a valley or river. That's the oh my gosh, I say Haf al-Batn, that's the town. That's the Wadi al-Batn. Kind of like a miniature Grand Canyon. Okay? Go to the right picture, and you'll see our guy, and you'll see the Kuwait border, and you see the town right above the Kuwait border. That's our Ruki. Then you see the border station over to Saudi Arabia. Okay? So, we're going to go to pick 2. Now, you see our guy, you see the Wadi al-Batn, and to the left you see our Ruki, and then the one in the middle picture is an area where we have been watching that from the border. And the picture on the right is me back in the days of chocolate chips, and that is a nice armament. I think it's called the R4, the R2, but it's actually the first ever suppressed revolver. And that's interesting in itself. So, my mission was in support of all the coalition forces. So we had the Egyptians, the Kuwaitis, the Syrians, and a couple other people up there on the border of Ruki. So we had watched, if you look back on the picture on the left, you see that little valley down in there, Wadi al-Batn. We've been watching that for a while, and we would see tanks come and go back and forth. We called the Air Force in. They couldn't see it because the haze would come out of the Wadi in the morning, and the aircraft say, hey, we can't see beneath the haze. So I'm running training, and we running missions with the Egyptians and the Kuwaitis in that center picture at that facility there. So we go out at night one night, and as we were coming in, if you look at the picture on the left, you see that little facility kind of left center. That's where we were. So we were coming back in from setting up a sniper operation, sniper positions, and the guys spotted some guys moving into the buildings. And that's the buildings in the center. So I always had the guys back in before sunrise. So we're coming back, getting ready to go back, and the guy goes, hey, I see somebody. I said, okay, now look, I see about maybe 8, 9, 10, 11 guys moving in to that position. And so the commander of the Egyptian combined forces, the Kuwaitis and everybody else, they said, go capture those guys. And they said, hey, that's over into Kuwait, And they said, go capture those guys. So they put together a platoon, and we move out from the walled area. And as you go out past the walled area, you had to go through a minefield. So we had to negotiate the minefield, and the walk to the buildings in the center was probably 2 clicks, maybe. And so I said, man, let me get the other guys on the radio to see how we want to do this. And they said, we have no time. We must go. And I said, I can't go with you. They said, wait a minute, you're here to support us. I said, yeah, but I can't go across into that without telling my team leader and the other team that's pulling the perimeter. He goes, are you with us or not? I said, fuck it, let's go. So we moved out. And you notice I'm holding that R-squared rifle. Well, I had the R-squared rifle, and I had an M16A2. And I had a 3-inch Win Mag. So I gave one of the coalition guys my 3-inch Win Mag. No, I gave him the R-square. And I kept my 3-inch Win Mag, and I had an M16A2. So we move out toward these buildings where these guys are. So they surround this building, and they say, okay, we're going in. We see which building they're in. So I'm trying to tell these guys to move tactically, and they basically walking up to the door, and they run into this building yelling. I can't explain what they were saying in Arabic, but it was a whole bunch of yelling going on. So they come out, and they got these guys, and they said, okay, we're taking them prisoner. They surrendered. I said, okay. So being that close to the Wadi, I wanted to get a look inside this Wadi because we had seen tanks come in and come out. And if you look on the left picture, you see how far it is to that Wadi. So I move out at a brisk pace and get to that Wadi, and believe it or not, I'm looking underneath the haze down in the wadi. I think it's pretty deep, probably 125 feet deep. And there are smoke generators down inside the bottom of the wadi, and vehicles everywhere and artillery. I'm just, oh my gosh. There's a zigzag pattern of these big giant machines, and that's what's putting out the smoke. It wasn't haze, it was smoke generators. I was like, oh my gosh. So I head back to catch up with the guys that had the prisoners. So me and my spotter, who was a Kuwaiti, then my two security guys were Egyptian, they were with me. So we kind of jogging, and we catch up with the platoon that's got these guys taking them back into the compound. And I walk up to them, and I look at them, and they've got their AK-47s, slung and walking along. And I called the platoon leader. I said, hey, y'all, I thought I said that you need to take their weapons. He goes, oh, we took their RPGs and their RPKs and PKMs, but we let them keep their personal weapons. And I'm walking behind these guys, and I'm looking at them, and they happen to look at me. I heard them asking questions. They said something like, yeah, that's Emery Key. He's an American. And they call like, oh, look, there's an American. And I'm walking, and we still got like 2 more clicks to go across the desert. The sun's coming up. As you can see, there is no cover. And I'm like, these guys have loaded weapons. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how do I get in these kind of things? So I radio the guys and tell them, hey guys, we're coming in. We need a guy to be out here to take us through the minefield. But by the way, the Iraqis still have their guns. And the guys called me back like, say again your last. And I said, man, they got the guns, but they promised to Allah that they won't shoot anybody. And they were like, what? So we get them to the minefield. They take us to the minefield, and we go through the wire, and we're in this little courtyard area. They don't want them to go no further. And there's my team and another team and some Egyptian guys, Kuwaiti guys. They're all assembled, and the commanders and everybody. And one of the Iraqis we captured went to the University of Miami. So he spoke perfect English. So we're talking to these guys, and our guys say, hey, you got to disarm. And this is, it's getting crazy. Because they're yelling back and forth, saying, you said we could keep our guns, but it's doing all this in Arabic. And you know how to get agitated and start yelling. So one of the guys that had the RPG, he pulls this thing out, and it looked like a law, but it turned out to be an RPG-18, which is the Russian copy of the law. So he's got this law. One of the American guys grabs the law, and he's looking at it, and the Iraqi guy that was the lieutenant who spoke English, he goes, oh, let me show you how this works. So he opens the law. He snaps it open, and everybody loses their mind. They're like, oh shit, he's got a rocket launcher. So half English, half Egyptian, modern Egyptian, half Arabic, Iraqi, whatever the Kuwaitis are speaking, everybody's pointing guns. And one of my team guys runs out with a saw, and he's trying to shoot the guy with the law. He's telling everybody to get down. I got a shot at him, and I'm yelling, don't shoot. And this is crazy. So the guy with the law, the Iraqi lieutenant, he goes, you cannot disarm this. I told him, hey, fold it back, close it, fold it back. He said, you can't do that. It's not like our law where you can push the thing down and fold it back. So he goes, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll shoot it back over the fence. And so he turns, and somebody yells, clear your back blast area, and everybody ran out of the way. And I'm thinking, he's not going to fire this rocket because he's pointing toward the minefield, and he fires his rocket. It goes over the wall, lands in the minefield, and like 3 or 4 mines start kicking off. Like, this all happened within 45 minutes of my Wednesday morning. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you can't make this shit up. You just can't make it up. I'm shaking my head. I just turned around and walked away. And they were like, where you going? I said, I'm going back to the team hut and go the fuck to sleep. Because I've been out all night, and I walked, 7 clicks across the desert, spotted tanks and smoke generators, and I come hauling ass back here before the sun come up so I don't get hit by mortars. And then you guys want to shoot this guy who's trying to shoot a law, who shoots a law into the minefield. I'm going to bed. And I went to bed. And that's my shaking my head moment. Tactical Rifleman Nation. So I can click this button again and I'll be back on camera. Nope. how do I close this, Carl? KE. I want to close the picture.
Okay.
Did he say go down to? Is it that one?
Close what picture?
This picture.
It's not that one, Steve. You go
The whole-
back to scene 2.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's yeah.
Just like that.
That's
You
what
good?
they said.
You good?
Yeah, I'm
All
good.
right. I'm gonna give you back your screen, Steve.
Look, it's Carl.
You're awesome. Hey, everybody.
And that was my shaking my head moment because you cannot. I don't want you to mention when he fired the law and set off the minefield that we had a brigade of Egyptian armor, Kuwaiti armor, Syrian armor behind us, and when they heard the explosions, all we heard was tanks cranking up. But that's another shaking my head moment that I'll tell you some other time. And how do you stop an Egyptian armor battalion, a Kuwaiti armor battalion, and a Syrian air defense battalion from shooting somebody at night once they crank up? When somebody radios you and says, this is, Central Command, tell your coalition forces to stand down. Those are American forces coming. I'm like, there's like 48 tanks over here. There's 37 T-62 tanks over there. And they only talk to each other if you talk to the radio that's attached, the radio phone attached to the back of the tank. So it's not like Americans. You say, hey, stand down. Roger that. We got it. Message got it. Confirmed. Stand down. You can't do that with an Arab coalition force. It just doesn't work. You got to run to all 38 tanks and say, Saeed, shut up. Stop it. Turn it off. Anyway, back to you guys. What you got, Susan? Talk to me. That's my shake my head moment. Interesting. Oh, yeah, by the way, I got in trouble over that, too. What are you doing out there? I was like, hey, I couldn't let the guys go by themselves. That's what we do. 35. Okay. Steve, I have a 35 Remington pump. Great rifle. Great cartridge. What's my opinion on pump rifles? The same opinion on the lever action rifles, brother. If it works for you, it works for you. I love the pump rifles because you can get, like I say, if you have a lever action rifle, get one in 22. If you have a pump action rifle, get one in 22, and just work those muscle memory. Get a shotgun. That's a pump. The pump rifles, the Remingtons, are great rifles. Great rifles. They never got their due. The 35 Remington is a great cartridge. You don't hear about it that much except like up in like Pennsylvania and down south because it was considered a woods cartridge, close range, that kind of thing. Again, like I said earlier, we are a nation of accuracy nuts. That pump action Remington, 35 Remington shooting a 200 grain bullet at 2,200 feet per second is only a 3-minute angle gun. Last time I checked, 3-minute angle was 3 inches at 100. How big is the deer or the hog? What's the vital zone? How big is the vital zone? 9 inches? But you're shooting 3 inches? But the magazine, they write the magazine articles. They got to have content guys, just like these social media influencer guys out there that are getting on there yapping their yaps, talking about this, talking about that, and they ain't ever been there, done that. 35 Remington in that pump, get it done all day long. I take it to Texas, shoot pigs, shoot deer, caribou, black bear. It'll get it done. And interesting you bring that up. Can we get the Henry rifle back in there? This year, last month and a half ago, January, at the SHOT Show, Henry Rifles introduced not only a new lever action rifle, but in a new cartridge. And here we go again. As I say, you have this search engine on the internet. It's called Google. What you do is Google the Remington 360, that's 360 buck hammer. Okay? Remington joined with Henry, and they have a new lever action cartridge combination that I find very interesting. Because as you guys know, I like 357 Remington Magnum. I like the 35 Remington, the 358 Winchester. I used to have a rifle in 350 Remington Magnum, so I'm a 35 caliber guy. The 360 Remington buck hammer is a .358 diameter bullet. So it's the same bullet that's used in the 35 Remington and the 358 Winchester and the 375 Magnum. It's a straight wall cartridge for those states like Ohio and Indiana that are restricting hunting big game deer to straight wall cartridges that I think a couple of states they put a either a bullet weight or a muzzle velocity restriction on the cartridge. In other words, you can't hunt with the 357 Magnum pistol cartridge in the carbine like the lever action up here from Henry because it doesn't meet the velocity limitation of the state. I think the velocity is 2,000 feet per second. So Remington came up with the 360 buckhammer. Henry introduced their new lever action rifle at the SHOT Show and the 360 buckhammer. The best I can do as comparison would be straight wall case, 45 caliber, X length, 2,000 feet per second would be the 4570. So if you took a 4570, that same straight wall case, same velocity, platform, everything else, and you squeeze it down to 358 caliber, the 35 caliber, like the bullets for the 35 Remington that he just asked me about, you're looking at something that's going to give the 4570 a run for its money. Because the loads from Remington, if I remember correctly, are 180 grain and 200 grain bullets at 2,200 feet per second. That's smoking. That's smoking. Out of a lever action, like the Henry X, that's going to hold 7 rounds. That's going to give the 4570 a run for its money. I mean, when you look at the BC difference between a 200 grain 35 caliber and 350 grain 45 caliber bullet like the 4570, you're looking at a significant ballistic coefficient difference as far as accuracy is concerned. Of course, you're going to have, kind of round those blunt bullets because they're being loaded in feed tubes in a lever action. But still, if you're pushing a 180, 200 grain 35 caliber bullet 2,200 feet per second, that's a lot of giddy up. That's a lot of giddy up. Well, consider this. A 357 Magnum standard load, same bore size as the 360 buck hammer. 357 Magnum has been known to be the man stopper with a 135, 140 grain bullet of 35 caliber at about 1,300 feet per second. This rifle shoots 180, 200 grain, same bullet as 357 Magnum at 2,200 feet per second. That's going to be a hammer out of a Henry X. That's going to be interesting. Not saying that everybody's going to run out and say, hey, I want to buy this new cartridge because I live in a state where I have to have a straight wall cartridge and everything else. I mean, that's your call. I just thought it was interesting that he asked me about the 35 Remington, which has been around for almost 70 years. And it's not one of those top 10 list of cartridges that everybody ever talks about. But to all the guys that's ever hunted with and passed those rifles down to the children and grandchildren and everything, those things are still around like he has, they bring the bacon home. It brings the backstrap home. It brings the rack home. Gotta get that rack. Tell your buddies. So, Take a look at it. Look it up. I think it's interesting. If I ever get a chance to get a hold of the some of the ammunition from Remington, I'll let you know. If I get a hold of the rifle from Henry, we'll let you know. We always keep you informed, TR Nation. Always. That's what we do. Right, Mr. Carl? Okay, answer that one. You have pump rifle. Okay, the last one, 35 Remington pump rifle. So we are getting close to closing down. I hope, I pray that I was able to share some knowledge with you guys tonight. I try to stay on point. It's a lot better because, I'm getting the stuff from Susan on my phone versus like having to read it all the time. I hope my shaking my head moment was interesting. I hadn't thought about that one in a long time either. I just can't describe it. This guy's running around with a saw, telling everybody to get down. It's like 40 people in this courtyard area. Everybody's screaming and everything, and he's yelling in English, "Get out! I got a shot!" I'm like, "Don't shoot the guy with the rocket launcher!" So anyway, it was. You can't make that shit up. So, Mr. KE, you got anything you want to share with the TR Nation before we close it out?
No, we're good, man.
You guys got anything else for me? Ollie Oxenfree. Don't forget, the Henry Homesteader 9mm carbine, real wood. And we're going to keep it clean. I'm going to figure out a way to red dot optic, or maybe day optic, or blast compensator, like the Novesco. I want to keep it clean, guys. I don't want all this shit hanging off of it, like, I don't know. But Marine Corps getting rid of snipers. My Lord. And that's something else you can't make up. What's wrong with this country sometimes? I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. I am going to end on a very uplifting note. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brothers and sisters' keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those that attempt to poison and destroy my brothers and sisters. And they will know that his name is the Lord when he brings his vengeance upon them. Tactical Rifleman Nation, we're out.
Did it die? Did you kill it?
Yeah. Well, I hit in the stream.
No, you got to click end streams.
I did.
Click it, and then
Okay.
you got to click that one. And y'all have a great night, guys. We love you.